Notnerd Podcast, Episode 188, Monolithically Integrated InP Optical Flip-Flop.
Welcome to the Notnerd Podcast. I am Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. We've got all kinds of stories, tips, tricks, picks this week to discuss with you. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Good day to you, sir.
Good day.
Good on you, Nate.
For our Australian listeners down under, welcome to the Notnerd Podcast.
And for all those others, we see you. We see you in the Russian Federation. We see you in Brazil. We see you in South Africa. Thank you for listening. Tell your friends.
The international Notnerd listening audience of the Notnerd Podcast. You know something that is an international problem, Dave? I do a lot of IT work, and I always tell people there's a few things I really don't like working with. One of them is printers.
Printers. This is an ancient technology. Do you remember when printers used to have a physical thing that would push the ribbon into the paper to leave a spot of ink? The dot matrix?
Dot matrix.
You remember that? Yeah, printers have come a long way, but sadly, in some ways, they have not come a long way.
Yes, the whole idea of a paperless society is not a reality for most people.
No.
And the problem is, I think we've discussed before, especially for home use, it's usually about once a month or once every 2 months when you need to print something, and then your printer decides it's not going to work, which is what listener of the show, Carolyn, she texted us at 608-618-NERD, 608-618-6373.
Yes, she did.
And they've got a Epson workforce printer at home, an all-in-one kind of thing.
Yeah, inkjet type thing with a scanner and all that fancy stuff.
Yeah, so you looked into it a little bit. I basically wrote back to her and said, I don't like printers. Maybe I don't know any good printer repair people.
Make a PDF.
It's probably not worth it.
No. And with as inexpensive as printers are these days, my general recommendation is, I know it's not environmentally friendly, e-cycle the thing, get rid of it somehow, and just spend $89 and buy a replacement printer that's going to work for you. And when it breaks, buy another $89 printer. However, I did some more research, and I have a recommendation for them. And the recommendation is, if you're going to do black and white only, get a laser printer.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do color, get a laser printer.
Oh,
what?
Wow.
They make color laser printers now that are very affordable.
Yeah.
In the sub $300 range, you can get a perfectly fine all-in-one color laser printer. The toner, you might think, well, the toner is going to cost me a lot of money. I did some research. Most of these printers, the toner is the same price or cheaper than inkjet cartridges.
Wow.
Inkjet ink is the most expensive liquid on earth. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Yes.
It's like something like $300 an ounce or something like that. So color laser printers, very affordable, and they last forever. The toner, you buy it once, you might find yourself 3 years without having to buy another toner for those things. So that's my recommendation. And for Carolyn, there was one that I found. It was an HP, around $250, all-in-one on Amazon. We can put the link in the show notes.
Yes, I will do that.
That's my recommendation, people. Just buy a color laser printer. Look into that. The technology's come a long way.
No, I'm looking at this one now. The HP Color LaserJet Pro M180 NW all-in-one wireless color laser printer with mobile printing and built-in Ethernet. But
you can print from your iPad directly to the printer.
It's got the Wi-Fi. You don't have to worry about wires. You can do the color, which sometimes you need color. I have a black and white printer at home, so I can't print color. So that's a limitation. But yeah, for most people, something like this, spend $239 and get something that's going to last forever and be such a better experience.
Yeah. And a few years from now, if it does die, then, there will be something else out there that's even better.
Necessary evil.
Yeah, this one, I would say this would last an easy 10 years.
Yeah. Follow up. Just last week, we were talking about Todd's laptop woes and the new Apple's laptops, and more confirmation bias that they're listening to our podcast and respond on a weekly basis. Apple made some announcements last week. They announced their new back-to-school promotion, and with that, they updated the MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and they also significantly lowered the upgrade pricing on their SSD, their flash storage drives.
Yeah, it used to be, hey, I'm buying a $1,200 computer. It's got a super small drive. I want to add a bigger drive to it. We'll add another $600 to that. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yes.
So yeah, they basically cut all of their additional storage prices in half, which is great.
Yep. Since I am looking for a laptop and I need one that has 2 terabytes of storage, which used to be, I think, an $800 upgrade, is now $400. So that's just over the course of a week, I'm going to save $400 more when I buy a new laptop. And I was even tempted by the 4 terabyte storage option because that's like $800 cheaper now, but that's a little bit more than I need in my laptop.
We might need to talk to you about some external storage options.
Yes.
Need something.
Amazon, hope you had a great Prime Day. We're recording this on Monday, the first day of Prime Days.
And we tried to warn you, so hopefully...
Yes, and I did a post on Facebook. I did notice that Walmart is running some extreme competitive specials, as is Target, and I think some other companies. Everybody is jumping on this fabricated holiday that Amazon has created, and... Make sure you check into the deals because there's a lot of just junk deals because anybody can put their stuff on special right now. But mostly your biggest things are going to be the Amazon devices themselves, the Alexa devices, the hubs, the whatever, their products, the tablets are on a big discount. But there is some other stuff. One thing you can do if you have a wish list, you can go check your wish list and see if anything is showing up with a great discount.
Those wish lists are great, but... Amazon has used them against me because I put stuff in my wish list, and then when I go to the main page, it's like, hey, buy yourself something. You deserve it. And they'll show you me items from my wish list, and I think that's a little nefarious.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking at mine now, and it doesn't look like anything is on a Prime special, sadly. So, but yeah, hopefully you bought some stuff that you needed at a good deal. And some of those things you bought, I found this article. It's actually from BuzzFeed News, and it discusses, we've done this before, Amazon owns a ton of businesses, and BuzzFeed went through and looked at and created a list. I mean, it just goes on and on of all these. A lot of them are brands that they've created or other companies that they bought. But, Painted Heart, an Amazon brand of women's clothing.
Yeah.
Peak Velocity, an Amazon men's activewear brand.
Peak Velocity. You got to say it with some fervor.
Quality Durables Co., an Amazon brand of casual men's clothing. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And that was just the apparel section. They have their brick and mortar stores. They have education companies, electronics devices, food and beverage. So they really, it's not just things that are branded Amazon or Amazon Basics. They control a lot of that stuff. And sadly, sometimes what they do is they create a brand because they see a very popular product and they copy it or recreate it themselves. So somebody who could be very successful selling their brand on Amazon, all of a sudden Mama Bear shows up and their baby and family focused products have been copied by Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's we love shopping on Amazon, but we do realize that there are they have a lot of power. And
they sure do.
A lot of stuff that they're doing. So there is somewhere where there should be a balance, but I'm going to keep shopping there because it's very convenient. The holistic cost works out for me. Speaking of holistic cost, last week Amazon had a shareholders meeting and they said, you know what? We have committed $70 million over the next 5-10 years that we're going to commit to retraining employees that are going to be replaced by automation.
Okay.
So this is a big worry for everybody. Everybody's going to lose their jobs because of robots. So Amazon says, hey, we're committing all this money to retrain those employees so that we're not losing as many employees as we could.
Okay.
Well, somebody started doing the math and they figured out that this works out to be about $1,000 per year per employee. And the average for large corporations is about $1,300 that they just spend on training. So it's like, hey, we've got this big impressive number for you that really doesn't mean a whole lot when you look at the big picture. But the fact that they're being mindful of, hey, we're going to figure out ways that we don't just eliminate thousands of jobs. We're going to look at how to retrain people and get them into better positions.
Right. Well, that's good.
Dave, I'm guessing, since I think I talked to you every day this last week, that you did not go to VidCon down in LA. You were not invited as an influencer.
No, my video influence is pretty shallow.
Yes.
It doesn't go very far.
Me and you.
We talk to each other. Maybe my kids.
Yes.
Maybe.
So VidCon is this huge thing where they bring in all these influencers, marketers, the people on Instagram, all the different social media.
Young people.
Yes. And even so they do fan events. So all these people that, love these influencers go to try to catch a glimpse. Well, the article I found talked about the fact that TikTok, the app we've talked about that we don't really understand, dominated VidCon this year, that it just had the biggest parties, the most people were talking about it, that it is just really the top of mind, which got me thinking. And I think the last time every time we've talked about TikTok, we've probably talked about Vine and Periscope and some of these other services that had a big heyday, but then quickly disappear.
They died on the Vine, maybe.
Oh, clever. But yeah, so TikTok, it's a thing for now.
I don't know the last time I launched the app, honestly.
No, I have not been doing it. You can find some funny stuff there, but when I look at the holistic cost, I'd rather play some Candy Crush, which Candy Crush did do some cool new changes. We were talking about that. You were like, how are you still playing that?
Yeah.
They just passed 5,000 levels.
Are you kidding me?
And they with that, they did some special different gameplay modes where you could go back and play every level.
They're listening to us too.
Yeah.
That was my suggestion.
We are influencers just to major corporations.
Yeah, okay.
HBO, our streaming TV talk, they have announced, because last week, you were talking about, I don't remember which one I have, the HBO Go, the HBO Now.
Yes, it's so confusing.
Well, they announced that they're going to be releasing their new HBO Max service.
Now, is this a third service, or is this a renaming of one of the other ones?
That was not clear in the discussion I heard on it or what I looked at it. But this is going to be, I think it's got to replace the other ones. Otherwise, they're just going to confuse people. Yeah. But this is going to be their major content. They've secured the rights to Friends, the TV show, which has been very popular on Netflix. This is their big play at a full content offering instead of just being able to watch HBO shows. So that'll be coming soon. Other streaming news, this is something that you'll be interested in, the ongoing battles between Google and Amazon.
Yes.
YouTube is back on Fire TV, and Prime Video is coming to the Chromecast devices.
Okay, so previously with the Kindle show, or is it the Amazon show? Whatever the show. Echo Show. It's the Echo Show. Previously with the Echo Show, the little TV type thing you put on your counter, and all the other devices from Amazon that have screens famously couldn't display, even tablets, the Kindle Fire tablets. There was no official YouTube app because Amazon and Google were fighting. Now, there were some third-party apps that worked just fine. It basically threw a web wrapper around the YouTube website, and it works fine. But now you can officially download the YouTube app and watch all their ads. I mean, watch all their great content.
Hey, not if you pay for YouTube Premium.
Yeah, that's true. But
I always forget there are ads on YouTube.
And of course, they've reciprocated, so Google's devices now can have Amazon Prime content, which I think is great. Can't we just all get along?
I know. Yeah. If we're not going to be able to have all of the actual content, like a show or a movie on all the different services, at least having all of these services on the different devices is a very nice option. You know what else is a very nice option? Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
So, Nate, this week I thought we would kind of go a little older school, maybe not as old as last week with our Grandpa's book of tech tips. But I think many of us forget to, or me at least, what a great resource the Apple App Store is. When you go there, either on your phone or your tablet, or there's some content on the websites out there, they have a group of writers and researchers who go out and write content regarding how-tos and how to do things better and whatever. And I came across this one about photography. Oh, nice. So I'm somewhat passionate about photography, and you have many cameras and take a lot of photos. And they had an article on the App Store that talked about how to do photography better. So I thought we could talk about that today. And this breaks all party lines. It doesn't matter if you're using an iPhone or a Pixel 3a or a Samsung, whatever.
Or a Polaroid camera.
A point and shoot camera. These basic principles apply anywhere. So let's go through them quickly. So the title of the article that Apple's App Store made was Photo 101, Take Better Group Photos. And, we go to group gatherings, like it was just recently 4th of July, and there are holidays coming up later this year. There's some techniques that you can employ to make your photos turn out better when you're doing group photos. And the first suggestion they have is line them up. Assuming you're shooting 5 or fewer people, there's a super simple way to pose them. Just have them stand in a line, maybe not so straight, but just kind of side by side.
Not people behind people or somebody out of the frame because they're 10 feet away from other people.
And you always want to consider your background when you take photos. When you look at professional photographers, one of the things that makes their photos stand out in quality is they consider the background.
Yes.
If there's a bunch of people or
an ugly car,
a dog taking a poop in the background, whatever, change your angle, right?
Yes.
The other one is work the crowd. So you've got this group of people there. Encourage physical contact. You'll notice the photos where people are in a line and there's like a 2-foot gap between them. They're cold. They're just not fun to look at. Now imagine a couple people on the couch, some people standing next to them with their hand on the shoulder, maybe someone kneeling on the floor where they're kind of clustered and touching and being more interactive. It makes for a warmer, but you as a photographer need to position people so that they look well on film. The other one, number 3, get in there. So many camera applications and even standard point and shoot cameras and digital SLRs have a timer function.
Yeah.
You could easily get a tripod. We've talked many times about the Glyph little clip. Phone mount. There's a million different varieties. iAudi makes some and some different stuff. So get a little mount for your phone and put it on a tripod or set it on a table or whatever. And that way you can get in the photo and be part of the fun as well. So use a timer. Play with the space. So that's number 4. That we talked about being in a line, people touching, but you can have them play with the space. You can have some people in the foreground, some people in the background. They don't all have to be sitting next to each other on the couch like we discussed. Break it up a little bit.
Tall people in the back.
Yeah.
Old people on the couch.
So work with the space. Yes. Graphic designers and photographers use this term a lot, negative space. What's between the figures? You want to consider that, and you can kind of control how the photo is going to look by looking at the negative space, right? So 5, embrace your outtakes. So, you can count before you take your first shot. Try to take some shots before you get to 1. When you go 3, 2, 1. If you're standing behind the camera, just take a couple kind of candid shots of people. Sometimes those can work out really well. Someone's laughing or whatever.
Yeah, take multiple photos. Take some before, take some after. I usually, when I'm taking a picture of somebody, I say 1, 2, 3, and then I say 4, 5, 6, and keep taking pictures because then people might smile or relax a little bit or funny. Stop blinking.
Some of your dad humor there.
Yes.
And then the last but not least, edit. Point number 6. So the smartphones and tablets have gotten so powerful these days. Yeah. They are supercomputers in your pocket. Well, with that power, you can easily edit photos to make them even better than they were. And some exciting things coming up this fall for Apple users is the overhauled Photos application and camera application. You can now, without using third-party software, do all these rotating and color corrections simpler than you ever have been able to before. And as we discussed, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, you can do that on videos now with the upcoming thing. But we're talking about photos. But if you want to use third-party applications on all platforms, there are some very capable applications out there.
Yeah. No, that's great tip. And it relates to a conversation we were having pre-show that we won't get into. But if you have a group of people together, there's a good chance that doesn't happen very often. Take a little extra time, put some thought into getting a good photo, having some good light and everything to record that moment. If it's just like, oh, let's hurry up and get this done as quickly as possible, take a couple extra seconds and put these tips into place.
Take 5 minutes
to get a great photo. You don't have to spend an hour setting up everything, but make sure that people are in the photo and that it's going to look great and that there isn't something glaring in the background and that you're not going to have to edit for hours, that you can just do some touch-ups, and so that's a great tip. I need to look through those App Store articles some more and some of the Apple videos they put out, because they do give you some good, simple tips.
And I'll see if I can get some screenshots of those tips for our non-Apple people, because you have to have the App Store to open the tip. So we'll make sure everybody can see it.
Great. Well, our 5 takes of the week. Apple, in a surprise move, revived the classic Texas Hold'em iOS game.
What?
Now, this was originally released, I believe it was on the iPod Video.
Yeah. It's
like the super olds, like with the
wheel and everything.
It was like $10. You could buy that. And so Apple says that they brought this back as the 10th anniversary of the App Store, which was actually 2008, not 2009. So it's the 11-year anniversary. So there's kind of some mystery around.
I think maybe now. Well, are we still within the 10th year? Maybe.
Oh, yes, possibly.
Yeah, I think so. They're just late to the party.
But they had the original listing from when it was first in the iOS App Store, and then that got upgraded to version 2.0. They did drop the price to free, and it's a fun little game. You can go in there. They've got a bunch of characters, and they have tells that you can learn, and you can bet your money and play some poker.
And I think one of the Easter eggs, Apple executive Phil Schiller is one of the characters in the game.
I didn't say. I played it a little bit, and yeah, so you're not playing with any real money, but just kind of one of those weird things where it's like Apple, it feels like in the last year that they've been cleaning out some drawers and finding some of these things and making some faster, they're just put some stuff out there.
Well, I think with the paper throwing game, what was that with?
With Warren
Buffett's game, and they've been partnering with Nintendo, and they've dusted off Texas Hold'em. But remember what's coming up this fall. Apple Arcade.
Yeah.
They're trying to get their gaming chops on. They're like, what can we resurrect to kind of get some practice here? Yes. So that's my guess.
Which also this week I had pre-ordered it, but Dr. Mario from Nintendo came out, and it's of course you're going to be surprised, different. Dave. There's some people that don't like it because it's different than the original Dr. Mario, but that's what Nintendo's doing on the iOS is taking their popular properties and adapting them to be more of a Candy Crush style game, but I played it for a little while, played some levels, and it's fun.
I have yet to play the new Dr. Mario or the new Texas Hold'em.
Jeez.
And I only played that paper game just, I think,
as a resident game expert. It's almost like you have other gaming platforms or something.
I know. It's almost like I have more to do than play games.
Yes. Another gaming thing that I don't think that you do much of is Twitch, the live streaming, which is super popular, again, with the youngsters.
Yeah, I turn it on occasionally, and then I watch a guy play a game for a while, and I'm like, maybe I'm going to go play my own game. So.
Yes, but it continues to dominate the live gaming streaming. Facebook has a competitor. YouTube obviously does some stuff, but Twitch is just killing it. And again, back to our earliest story, owned by Amazon, but they are 70% market share on viewing hours, 72.2 to be exact. YouTube has 19.5. Facebook gaming has 5.3, and then a service called Mixer, which I am not familiar with, has 3%. A lot of people are watching it. 3.77 billion hours in Q2 watched across all these platforms.
Wow, that's a lot of eyeballs and a lot of time.
Yes.
And speaking of our gaming theme, Nintendo, they released the Switch Lite, which I was a little nervous about because about 4 months ago I bought the $300 Nintendo Switch, and I was like, they're going to release a new model. I'm going to be regretting making this purchase. It's going to be better, faster, cheaper, or whatever. Well, Nintendo, being Nintendo, they kind of did a little sharp
shuck and jive
90-degree turn. They decided to release the Nintendo Switch Lite for $100 less, but they also removed a bunch of features.
Yes.
So I don't feel so bad. I feel like my extra $100 was for features that I like and enjoy. So with the Lite, the skinny on this is it's basically a portable Switch only. The Joy-Cons they're not removable from the unit itself. It's not dockable. You can't display the information to a TV. Yeah. There's a couple of like the rumble features that they've taken out of it. So it's just a dumbed down version. I guess it's not really dumbed down. It's just a light version, if you will. Which a great. They missed an opportunity. Remember my company for making clever. Yes. They needed to name it the Nintendo Lite Switch.
Lite Switch.
Not Switch Lite.
My goodness, what were they doing?
It would have been much better. This is designed for the younger crowd, for kids. Dad's got the Switch, and the kids always want to play it, and he's like, you're going to get peanut butter on it and break it. Oh, I know. I'll get you kind of a more rugged version that doesn't come apart and has whatever. So the market that it's going to kind of overtake is Nintendo's own market with their 3DS and their 2DS handheld market. This is, I think, their long-term play to cannibalize their own sales for that aging platform and kind of move this into that less expensive slot of portable gaming only. So I think that's their plan.
I think the way I thought of it is they're bringing the Game Boy kind of type of system under the Switch thing and being able to put everything towards the Switch.
And they've unified all the platforms, so you buy a game to play on TV, but you can also play it on the go. Their whole idea of unification is being played out here.
Yeah, and the discussion I heard on another podcast, they were talking about it, and they said, well, my regular Switch, I never connect it to the TV. There's a lot of people that don't focus on TV. They don't want to do that.
It's always
being
portable.
Able to save some money and do it and be on the go makes sense.
Buy a couple games instead of paying extra for a console you're not going to use the features of.
Yes. Now, Dave, you and I are not Uberers.
Not typically, no.
No, we don't have a lot of use case for ride-sharing services, but, we talk a lot about them because they are super popular and there are some great use cases. Well, they are continuing to add what they're calling comfort features into their UberX services. Now, what the latest improvements is or you can get more legroom, or you can get higher rated drivers. So you're paying a little bit more to get
different
better
vehicles.
Cars. Yes. And then they also have some options in there. I'm not really familiar with it again, but quiet mode where it's like, I do not want to talk to the driver.
I don't want music playing.
I want the air conditioning on full. I want the heat on, so that you can have a little bit more control over your experience, which makes sense. And if they can charge you more for that and make more money off of it, that makes sense as well. But it's nice to have those preferences, because I have heard people talk about, I got in, the guy just wouldn't shut up, and I was trying to, listen to a podcast, or I got in the car and it was freezing, or I saw one the other day. I was driving along and was at a stoplight next to, of course they were Uber and Lyft, but they had, you could see they had video displays on the back of the seat so people could watch videos.
Wow.
Like you were in like a luxury airliner and this person, it wasn't a very nice car, but they had all these gimmicks in there. Probably had free water bottles and a snack cart and all this stuff. But hey, if you want to, be at the top of your game, and if you're doing it full time, it makes sense to put some of those bonuses in your vehicle.
And as a reminder, I think Uber's long-term goal is to have self-driving cars.
Yeah.
And so all this will probably go away in the future when they have their own fleet of self-driving cars that have all the amenities that you want with no driver.
Yeah. You found this article a while back, and I finally had a chance to get it into our lineup this week. And it's discussing that a Greek research team has created the world's fastest RAM. Now, I'm not going to try to pronounce any of these people's names, but they are members of the Wireless and Photonic Systems and Networks Research Group of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki.
Wow. And just to point out, this isn't the RAM that's the type of vehicle.
No.
Nor is
we
it
came from the Uber story. I did not make a clear distinction.
And nor is this the animal that looks like a sheep.
The world's fastest RAM. They've done some genetic modification.
This is the random access memory that's found inside your computer, which can have a dramatic effect on your computer speed.
Yes.
So having the ability to make it faster is always good.
Yeah. So they reporting on a 100% speed increase compared to state-of-the-art optical RAM demonstrations. So not 100% improvement on what's in your computer, but the top stuff that's out there already.
Right.
But this sentence, or a couple sentences here, I have to read because this might be the nerdiest thing, the most I'll just go with it. To achieve this, the proposed RAM cell deploys a monolithically integrated InP optical flip-flop and a semiconductor optical amplifier Mach Zehnder interferometer on-off switch configured to operate as a strongly saturated, differentially biased access gate.
So what that means is it's faster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monolithically integrated InP optical flip-flop. I think we have a show title there.
Yowza.
But yeah, so I love seeing this kind of stuff.
Well, one of the things that it pointed out is that computer processors, that's the chip that makes it go fast, have steadily increased in performance over the years.
Yes.
And there was the Moore's Law where processor power doubles 18 months.
18 months, yeah.
Well, RAM speed is on a much more linear path. It just slowly gets faster and faster and faster. And so the hope with this technology is that they're going to be able to better match the speed of the RAM to the processors.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and it's all done optically with light versus pushing electrons through copper.
Yeah, good stuff. So if you're interested in that, you can go read the link in the show notes. Security and privacy stories. As big Apple fans, we would be remiss if we did not bring up the story that we are fair and balanced here.
Mm-hmm.
Apple disables the walkie-talkie feature on the Apple Watch.
The feature that absolutely nobody used.
Yes. Now we've been reminded about it.
Oh, yeah.
I think we tried it out maybe once. It's is not something I want to use.
It does not make sense.
I was listening to the iMore podcast, and one of them there that has, a couple older kids that have Apple Watches. They talked about using it as a family in the the grocery store. So it'll work there. So you can say, hey, I'm heading up to the register. You walk into the grocery store, everybody disperses, and then you can gather people up. But I do not want people to have the feature to talk to me. So if you're carrying groceries, maybe being able to just talk to your watch. But
we use text messages primarily for that.
There was a flaw that was found, and so they have disabled it until they get it fixed. Speaking of things that we like that have an issue, the Zoom video conferencing software that is very popular. It has been a pick of the week on our show.
This hit us hard because you and I have used it before. You use it with clients.
Yeah, I use it on a weekly basis for meeting with a lot of different people. And so what had happened was they had created something that was a little bit shady where when you installed it to be part of a virtual meeting on your computer, and this is on I think it was mostly on Apple laptops as where it's having this major issue. It would install a little web server so that it could work easier. So like if you did a meeting and then a month goes by and you needed to do another meeting and maybe you deleted the app, it would be easier for you to click a link, join the meeting. Somebody found out that there was a possibility that somebody could use a malware website, or they could create a website that would
exploit that
and automatically start a video meeting. If you had, now there's a couple caveats here. The way that it was reported, it's like they can take over your webcam and watch you at any time if you visit their website. Well, there's a couple caveats to that. One, you had to have the setting on when you used it saying, anytime I join a meeting, automatically start my video, which most people would not use. And second of all, as we have discussed many times, that bright green light on your Mac laptop will be showing. They're not hacking past this where they get secret access. It's the fully legal access. They're just able to start it maliciously.
Right. So the light would still be there. You'd have to agree to this thing. But it's still very bad that they installed this web server without users' consent. That's really not secure at all.
Yeah, doing it a little, it wasn't on the full up and up for what Apple would like you doing. So two things have happened. At first, Zoom was like, no, that's a feature. And then after much public outcry, they're like, we've fixed this. And Apple also, a great thing about Apple, they were able to push out a silent update to all of their Apple computers that
they
disabled this functionality.
Right. Apple controls the whole stack, the hardware and the software and the operating system. And so they can do things in the background, which you may think is scary, or you may think that's great because they can take care of these things without having to have user interaction. Yeah. They can keep us safe.
Yeah. And if we're going to bring up an Apple story, I had to find an Android story to let you know that Apple is still better than Android. It was found that more than 1,000 Android apps harvest data even after denying permissions. And it was actually closer to 1,500. It was like 1,370 or something like that. So somebody was able to go through and scan apps in the App Store and find, and there were some big ones too. It's like
Facebook.
Yeah, millions have installed. It was like Baidu's Hong Kong Disney app, and there was some other big ones where Android has gotten better about actually asking you, like iOS does, hey, do you give this app permission? Mm-hmm. But these apps were finding ways around that. One of them was if they had access to your photos, they would pull location data off your photos to locate where you are, and Wi-Fi triangulation, and
even
all
though
this
you
said
I don't want to share my location, they would still steal it from you.
Yes. So Android said that they will be addressing this in Android Q, which is in beta now and coming out this fall.
What letter of the alphabet is that? I'm trying to determine what version we're on.
Oh, I think it's like version 11 of Android. They did not start with A. Yeah. I don't know.
It just makes me a little angry that this has been going on for 11 iterations, and they're just now getting serious about it.
It was up till like last year or two where they didn't even have to, apps didn't have to ask permission. I mean, using my Pixel 3a phone, I don't use it a lot, but Android does feel like the Wild West.
Oh, yeah.
Like going into the Google Play Store and you search for an app and there's a million different copies and clones.
You look for YouTube and there's 900 YouTube apps.
Yeah, it is. That is one of the reasons why I strongly recommend people go with iOS.
Yeah, not everyone's going to agree with us, but this podcast is designed for people who use technology because they have to, not because they just love
they
technology.
Want to get in.
This is for not nerds.
Yes.
And so there may be some of you out there going, well, I use an Android every day and I love it. You guys are wrong. But for the majority of people who do not want to bother with technology, iOS is your friend.
Yes. The best experience and the best security, I think, are definitely lean towards iOS.
And if that ever changes, we will change with it.
Yes. And our bonus odd take of the week. Are you into Gregorian chants much, Dave?
Well, there was a time where I liked to listen to them occasionally, but it was a very small fad. We're talking, I found like one album, listened to it 1 or 2 days, and then I was done.
So this one I found, it is Gregorian Voices, Early Roman Catholic Church Song Generator. So it is.
This has got to be the randomest thing ever.
It is an AI Gregorian Voices, and whoever, I might have been kotkey.org where I saw it, was talking about this is a great way to work, just to have this soothing. And there was back in high school, there was a group that did Gregorian chant covers of like popular music. So I really got into that.
Please.
Way back, and I probably have some of it somewhere. But this is just real. You can adjust different. There's a bunch of different color sliders, so you can adjust different elements of it, and you can AirPlay it to other devices. It's really just a fun little thing to play with a little while. And if you really enjoy it, you can just have it there playing and be listening to Gregorian chants that you've created. You don't have to rely on the monks of the early centuries. But yeah, the acapella, Gregorian chant. So if you're into acapella music, maybe check out the Gregorian Voices Generator. You know what else you should check out? Our picks of the week.
Nate, nary a week goes by where I don't discuss reading of books in some capacity. I talk about books a lot. I talk about my Kindle Paperwhite, my Kindle Fire, my Kindle whatever, and I hail the process of reading books online or on a device versus printing paper, going back to the printer. Why do you even need a printer these days? So there's a service that I've been using for quite a while, and it's great because if you don't like paying for books, but you like reading them, then this service is for you.
We like those.
Yeah, the service is called Bookbub. Bookbub, like it's your bub, I guess.
Yeah, something like that.
So each week or a couple times a week, I get an email from Bookbub. And you go in and you sign up for this service and you tell them what type of books you like, and they'll send you an email, like a newsletter. It says, hey, you might be interested in this book. And oftentimes they're books that are on sale, but many times they're books that are free. So my latest one, I've just looked at this for the first time, The Curse of the Shalion. I don't know what that is. Anyway, it's normally $3.99. It's on sale for 99 cents, and you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, if you're an Apple Books user. You can buy it on Google or Kobo, which I believe is that the Sony reader. I can't remember exactly. A couple other ones. And at the bottom of the list here, Crossroads of the Bones by Luann Bennett. Never heard of her. whatever, free. A free book. I can click here, download the book for free. I probably have 80 books. I have no idea what they are. They're just kind of in the genres I like. Yeah. And someday when I'm retired and I'm not playing video games or putting together Legos, I'm going to pull up my antique Kindle Paperwhite that has my tracking tile on the back so I don't lose this one. And I'm going to read these books.
Nice.
It's going to happen one of these days. But Bookbub, if you're looking for cheap books or free books for your ebook reader, Bookbub is the way to go.
Nice. I actually just signed up for it. And I will mention I have been using, I think I mentioned a few episodes ago, the Libby, the free one through the library for audiobooks. And I keep getting these notifications. My audiobooks are coming up. It's my turn to borrow them, and they just show up in the app. And so I've actually been taking a break from podcasts every once in a while, listening to some books.
Well, inquiring ears want to know, what's one of the books you've been listening to?
Well, I've actually, thanks to Jared Butler, etc., the comedy Sex God by Pete Holmes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you're listening to it for free.
Yes. And I would not recommend that for everyone. It's an acquired taste.
It's probably rated R-ish.
Yeah, definitely. But if you're a fan of Pete Holmes, it's fun to hear some of his story. And then I have I listened to one from Ray Edwards, who is a very famous copywriter. He does very popular for business writing and that kind of stuff. And I have some other marketing ones that I want to listen to. And there's some great books. But I just signed up for Bookbub while you were talking because I don't like listening to you. My pick of the week, I had seen this article about Google Translate, and I have not had much need for it. I did go to Uganda last year, but they did not have any of the languages spoken there in the app. But I'd seen an article that they now have over 100 languages in the app. And Saturday, we were over at my parents' house for my daughter's birthday party, and one of our friends they had gone to breakfast at a restaurant and grabbed some of the free newspapers, and they were the Asian Reporter and then a Japanese Seattle newspaper.
Oh, fun, yeah.
So they had some sections of the foreign language, and we're sitting there and I go, hey, you know what? Google Translate app. So I opened it up. I selected Japanese to English, held my camera in front of the paper, and it live translates the newspaper, like the full article, into English.
And it looks like it's on the newspaper still, right? It does some optical overlay. Yeah, that's amazing.
And we had talked before that Google Pixel Buds that were supposed to be like this live translator service thing. Mm-hmm. Well, they built a lot of that even on my iPhone into the iOS app now, where you can do conversation. So I switch it from English to Japanese, and I said like, "Hello, how are you doing today?" And instantly it kicks out the Japanese version. So this tool is fun to play with, but absolutely,
it's the Star Trek Universal Translator.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming to life, and it's making the world smaller and allowing people who would ordinarily not be able to talk to each other have conversations. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and they've made a lot of improvements on how much it has to talk to Google services or servers. It'll download local stuff. You can download local
on
language
device.
For the most common words.
Yeah.
So it's not, if you're in a foreign country, you want to be concerned about your data usage, so you can do that kind of stuff. But this is really just download it and play with it. Pick a language. If you're trying to learn a new language, any of that stuff.
What if you choose American English to UK English? I wonder what it would do.
They do not have Pig Latin. I checked for that.
Oh, man.
Yes, they do have Hawaiian, though, which I was curious about. Didn't seem to be working correctly. Our Ramazan purchase of the week, we skipped it last week because we had so much other stuff. We are Amazon affiliates, and we love when you go to amazon.notnerd.com or any of the links in our show notes or website, because we get a little kickback when you do your normal shopping on Amazon. Hopefully you're doing it for Amazon Prime Day. Doesn't cost you a thing. And we look at the anonymous reports of what you guys are buying. And this one, I believe I know who it was. I think it was my mother because I purchased a similar item. I don't know if I've mentioned it much on the show, but I'm a sucker for as seen on TV devices, which most of the time is a letdown. But
most of the time, probably all of the time.
Well, not in this case, I would say. And this is something my mom had purchased one for my dad, I believe, for Father's Day. And so I was thinking ahead for my wife's birthday next month, and I was like, she does a lot of gardening in our home. I'm going to get her one of these. It's going to be great. Well, I'll get to the product eventually. I just want to tell stories. Mm-hmm. Well, we're sitting there one day and she goes, "Oh, these are so expensive. I don't think I'll buy one right now." And I go, "Yes, I'm going to surprise her for her birthday next month." And then like a day later, she goes, "I went ahead and bought one of those because I think it's going to be a good thing. I got a shorter one." Well, what it is, the Forever Steel Hose, 25-foot, 304 stainless steel garden hose, as seen on TV, lightweight, kink-free, and stronger than ever, durable and easy to use.
I don't know if I would be into getting kink-free hose.
Where's our cricket sounder when you need it? So what this is, and my dad has them, he's got a large yard. We have a very small yard. It is exactly what you'd think, a steel hose. And it's flexible, so it kind of looks like electrical conduit or something like that. But
how does it bend? Is it like some mesh of steel woven?
It is. I don't know how you would say it. It is. What do we say with caterpillars? It is
articulated.
Articulated, yes. But the surprising thing about this hose is it's super lightweight. It is a fourth the weight of a normal rubber hose for like a 25-foot one. It is really lightweight. It's a little smaller in diameter, but you can just...
How is this possible?
It's amazing. So I'll show you a couple of the pictures here, Dave. There's the Forever Steel hose.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like a coiled type of steel.
Yes. But it's got nice connectors on the end. It's UV resistant, so it's not going to get all... Our regular rubber hose just got gross. But so I think this is possibly one that my parents had bought because mine would not show up in our reports. But I bought one and my wife had bought one, so we have two of them now.
Well, what are you going to do if you have a redheaded stepchild and you need to beat him with a rubber hose?
No.
It's not going to work.
Well, true. I didn't. Okay. We'll keep the old one just in case that happens to happen.
Cut a segment out of it.
Yes.
Well, this looks pretty cool.
Yeah, so... It's puncture proof, lightweight and compact. They've got a return policy. But Dave, what would you pay for the 25-foot Forever Steel hose?
Well, my mind keeps going to why. Like, why was this invented? Are rubber hoses that bad that they needed to be completely reinvented?
Do you have a rubber hose that you use at home? Does it get kinked? Is it heavy? Does it just deteriorate over time?
Well, all of those things are true, but we're talking decades of time.
Ours is in years. We must have bought the wrong hose.
Anyway, I see the appeal of this.
Yes.
It's just something that I didn't know existed until today. So, man, for 25 feet of hose, that's going to cost you regularly, if it's a rubber hose, I don't know, probably $15 to $20 for one of those things. So an articulated steel hose, what's really going to add to the cost of this is the UV. It doesn't break down because it's not rubber.
Well, we do live in the Pacific Northwest, so not really an issue here as judged by our weather.
I'm going to go with $23.99 on this thing.
Well, you would get a good deal on that. It is $24.99. So,
so close.
Yeah, but after listening to my dad talk about it, and I think he's got hundreds of feet of this for his whole backyard and his front yard and everywhere.
Maybe he needs a sprinkler system.
Yes. Well, there's that too. But and we have it in our backyard and our front yard now. And it is.
How do you store it? Can it go on one of those coil things?
Yeah. But it is super my wife can lift it one hand, no problem. It coils up very nicely. You don't have to straighten it out and get out kinks and everything.
Are you sure this isn't aluminum? Is it really steel?
It says 304 stainless steel.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to check this stuff out.
Yeah. You can come over anytime.
and water your...
Yes, water our
your
flowers.
Very large yard.
You can spend 3 minutes watering our yard. But you can check that out. I was excited to see. I've seen a couple other people have purchased things that we've discussed on the show. We have not sold any more of the Comfort Fit disposable male dog diapers, but I've seen some people buying some Bluetooth FM transmitters. I think somebody else might have bought one of the hyper chillers, like mine. And nobody else has bought a Parrot Anafi drone yet, but you've bought some parts for it, which I see in there.
Yikes.
But that's why we do this, just to show you things that you can buy on Amazon that like you didn't even know about the Forever Steel hose.
Brand new to me.
Yes. So keep doing that. We thank you for your support. Check out the YouTube channel, iTunes reviews, share the podcast, check out our Patreon. We have all the links in the show notes and on the website every time. So if you're driving right now and you're like, oh yeah, I want to remember about that thing, just go to the website once in a while and look through. And we're working on some more ways that you can find stuff even easier on the website that we talk about. But yeah, we thank you for listening. Now get out there and tech better.